Hey, internet friends, it's me, Bradley G. Here's your man from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and welcome to another day at Synergy Cafe. And guess who I've got today? I've got a guest that came from my friend George over in Hawaii. I don't know how it all happened, but I don't even know where she's from. But I'm going to go get her. She's in the green room enjoying some of our locale digital hors d'oeuvres. And where is she? Let me go get her. Is she there? Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning to you, and good afternoon, good evening to everybody, depending on where you're watching. I'm delighted to be here with you, Brad.
Well, where are you?
I am currently in Lyon with my business being based in New York City, Lyon, France.
I see. Wow. So you get, how do you do that? You got to fly, you get a private jet and you just go from Lyon to New York and then back again?
Absolutely. I do that all the time. I have 3 private jets, but don't tell anybody. So,
Well, here's
no,
what
but
we're
I
going to be
do.
talking. This is what we're going to be talking about today
Yeah.
is value-driven leadership, which makes lots of sense to me because sometimes when you think the leader, follow the leader. Well, no, I don't want to follow the leader if I'm not getting any value back. How long have you been doing this kind of thing?
Well, I started my business around 2012 when I moved from Brazil to New York City. And of course, it wasn't all done in a day. So it was a process for sure. The leadership coaching specifically, I started probably a couple of years later. Moving into it through networking, gaining clarity, and really figuring out who I wanted to work with. And this is why I eventually chose transformational leadership coaching.
So do you think that leadership is like a born trait or is it something that is learned?
I believe it's learned. There are certainly leaders who might have it a bit easier through who they are naturally and intrinsically. However, we can learn leadership skills for sure and behaviors. And we then also need to embody them so they can actually shine through us and through our leadership presence.
And then do you think that once a person learns that leadership, that do they kind of maybe have to lose part of themselves or do they have to actually change themselves? Because to me, I don't think I'm a leader because I really like to just get things done myself. So, and I kind of feel a little bit bad delegating something to someone else. It's like, why should I be having them do it? Why don't I just take care of it? How do you deal with that?
Well, there's a lot of topics in this one statement. First of all, we're not all supposed to be leading someone else, but we are all supposed to lead ourselves.
Okay.
And self-leadership is another very essential leadership skill. It's actually the basis of all leadership of others. In my opinion, it's the most essential leadership skill of all. And, you might not want to have a team, and that's totally okay. That's your decision, right? And we have individual contributors who also need to lead themselves. So that's why I also created some leadership frameworks that are for both situations, because it is about leading ourselves, about leading our businesses, about leading our potentially our teams, but also leading our careers in a way, right? And then the other thing is, Brad, I studied human design, at least to a certain level, right? And there it does say that we are all designed to be in different roles somehow, and not each of us is really designed to call it something to lead a group of people or big organization. Now, having said that, if you do have a team, you do really need to learn to delegate because for many reasons, I actually just created a few YouTube videos about this. One was published last Sunday on my YouTube channel, Regina Huber. And a second one is going to be published not tomorrow, Saturday, this coming Sunday. So, and I also published a short post yesterday on LinkedIn that talks about the challenges and the advantages of delegating. And one very important prerequisite for delegating is mutual trust. Because as leaders, we expect our teams to trust us, but do we trust our teams enough to delegate to them? That's the other question.
I think also maybe the delegation, you may need to know that person's skill set, because if someone delegated me to go through a list of cold calls, it ain't gonna happen.
Exactly. That's why we need to have those one-on-one conversations with our team members to really figure out what else is in their potential that's maybe not included in their job description and that they have never had a chance to show us.
Here's a two-part question. Do you think that leaders are visionaries? And if they are, do you think sometimes they bridge too far? And by that, I mean, they've got these distant visions where someone else goes, oh my God, I'm not going to try and jump that chasm. I'll never make that leap over that.
I do believe that leaders are supposed to be visionaries to a certain extent, right? Really all leaders, because we want to have a vision for ourselves, to lead ourselves, and we want to have a vision for our teams. And if the team, for example, has made a joint effort to get to that vision, then it's always more useful. Why? Because we get automatic buy-in. People are more committed to it. They take ownership. They feel more accountable to reach the goals that we have determined as part of that vision, the milestones to our destination, right? And so I believe that visionary is important for leaders. Now, of course, sometimes we might jump a little bit too far ahead, and we have then take it back from there and explain to other people how we're going to get there.
Right.
That's the way to go.
That's where I run into things, because my background as a magician. I started doing magic when I was a little kid. So my brain developed since I was like 4 or 5 years old, kind of looking behind the scenes on things, because how does the magic work? And sometimes I can see vision of possibility, and oftentimes I assume that they kind of see the vision too. They see the path, but they don't. And one example is, like, I'm trying to show people how to use the affiliate model to make sideline, recurring cash, sort of side hustle. And they think, well, I don't know anything about landing pages and opt-in pages. And I'm not a techie person. So I developed this little VIP ticket that has a QR code on the back, and that goes to an affiliate link. So if they're capable of going to an event and handing someone a little VIP pass to the next event, they can be making passive income. So what do you think of that kind of thing, where, like, I use the analogy of a car. Everybody knows how to drive. You start it, put it in drive, and go. They don't need to know all the gas and the air fuel mixture and the spark and the disc brakes and the drum brakes and the compression ratio. They don't need to know all that.
No.
So how do you get someone to take that leap? I guess they need to know so they can trust that the car is not going to explode.
Right, exactly. And sometimes it's very useful to know a few pieces of that, to have a few pieces of that knowledge, right? Like when I was a student, the ignition piece of my car, my old Renault, it stopped working. And it was way cheaper for me to get that part at the body shop, right? The car body shop, and to exchange it myself. So I took those instructions with me and I actually did it. However, we don't always have to do that. We're not always supposed to do that. There are other experts who know to do that better, right? And this is how we complement our skills depending on the situation. So I know how to build a landing page, but it's not my forte necessarily. So I also usually outsource that service, or I ask somebody to help me when it's a smaller project, right? And the same is true for your beautiful model. Like, you give this tool into people's hands, they can easily use it, and they don't need to know everything else. And I think, we live in a world of very high specialization. Should we always go to the extreme to that? I don't know. I think it's also still really valuable to know how it all fits together. to understand the bigger picture, even though we don't know how each individual piece of it exactly
Right. So
works.
at least they know the trust.
Right.
So you don't just send them out, okay, I'm going to delegate this to you, and all you got to do is this, and they kind of,
Mhm.
are you sure I should be doing this? They get a little bit. You need to
Mhm.
trust the leader, right? So that's one part about being a leader is you can be charismatic, but you got to be trusted too, right?
Yes, and you have to build that trust. It doesn't come automatically.
Mhm.
You got to build it through being authentic, through people seeing who you really are and letting them see who you really are and what you stand for, what your values are, and also that you can actually achieve things, that you can reach goals, and you can be, yeah, you have the knowledge also, right, and the abilities and the skills to do that. And then also you understand the big picture. That's the leader's task as well, right?
So this is your website, transformyourperformance.com. That's pretty simple. So what would if someone went to this website, what are they going to see there?
Well, I'm actually currently reshaping and remodeling it a little bit, but you cannot
That's a
see the new
constant
version
task
yet.
on the internet. That's
Yeah,
always
you
happening,
cannot
right?
see the new version yet, but soon, hopefully. And what they will see is several different pages, because I do coaching, training, and speaking as the three main pieces of my company. Transform your performance. So what I do is, in terms of coaching, I mostly work with my clients one-on-one. Okay, and one-on-one coaching programs. I have also led some masterminds, and I'm currently working on a future program again, which would imply a group and some training and coaching at the same time. And then I'm also doing collaboration projects. I just literally started a new collaboration project with somebody in the New York City area that is focused on communication and speaking. So that is a new project, and I always work on other co-creation, projects or collaborations. For example, also I'm doing a leadership summit, online leadership summit, end of March, with a colleague over in Zimbabwe. And going back to what you originally said, well, yes, this is on my website. A lot of it is on my website. Other things you can also learn on my YouTube channel or on my LinkedIn profile. On LinkedIn, sorry, I also publish a weekly career growth strategies newsletter. Just published an article earlier today. And yeah, exactly. So I write about topics around career growth, and leadership.
I give you some accolades on doing the posting on LinkedIn, because I saw you actually posted the event that I'd posted.
Oh, yes.
You shared it, because a lot of people don't do that. They just kind of just get it set and then they leave. But the internet needs some interaction. I kind of like to use real life situations in comparison to the internet. It's like if you go to a conference and you're up there on the stage speaking, and then nobody talks to each other. They just walk out in the lobby for a coffee, but they don't say anything to each other. They should communicate and go, oh, I saw Regina, she at another event, and they should communicate a little bit. So that's my little applause to you for actually interacting, and shame on some of the people that just click and run.
Thank you. Yes, and we do our best. Sometimes it's a little hard to cut through all the noise. LinkedIn has become so busy in the last few years for obvious reasons, but we do our best.
It has, but people need to, like, if you go to up here, we got the Minnesota State Fair. There's millions of people that come. But if I'm walking through the fair, I don't talk to everybody. But if I see somebody I know, I do acknowledge, hey, how's it going? Maybe talk a little bit and then move on. But on the internet, you see somebody like, that's why I commented on George's post. That's how I found you. I commented on George's post because I know him. I wanted to acknowledge that he's real. I don't acknowledge everybody because I don't really know them.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, and I also sometimes acknowledge posts by people who I do not know in person, but whose posts I value, right? If they talk about
Yeah,
leadership
get to
and
know
they have
them.
great posts, why not? And occasionally I also reshare. I usually share mostly original content, but occasionally I reshare something also when I think this is really outstanding and just different.
Yeah, I think that's part of leadership as well, is to kind of be liked by everybody. Maybe not everybody, but the majority of people. You got to be, approachable. I think, like an
Yeah.
open door policy, perhaps.
Yeah, you got to be likable in a way, but also at the same time be true to who you really are, right? And authentic, and we want to know what you stand for. So you might not be liked by everybody. I also talk a lot about courageous leadership. Sometimes that requires going against the mainstream. It requires, because the masses are not always right. And because, as you know, and I know, the masses are very much conditioned. We are constantly conditioned by the media, by politicians, by all of that. And without going more into this topic, we just need to be aware of it. And sometimes it's not what most people think that is the truth. And so I believe that we need more of that, actually, also. And that, to me, is also value-driven leadership.
Well,
Not
here's an
shutting up.
example, and I'm not into the political thing myself, but our friend Donald Trump, he would be leaps and bounds over it if he wouldn't be so mean. He could be a good leader if he wasn't so abrasive and be a little more. But the people
Well,
that like him, and the people that don't.
yeah, and the thing is also is going up against a big wall. So there's a lot going on in that arena that is very complex, right?
Yeah.
And different situations, I believe, require different attitudes and ways of being. And then there's also always everybody's personality, and we don't know all the background oftentimes. And
Yeah.
for people who do their independent research, they have sort of a broader perspective, and they can see it more easily in context. I think that's what also is a leader's responsibility. I call this to be informed, not to just feed or eat everything that you get spoon-fed. That's not who a leader is supposed to be. A leader is supposed to evaluate different perspectives, right? We talk so much about inclusiveness these days, but a lot of times it's actually used in the wrong way. And when people talk about inclusiveness, what they really talk about is conformity. No, that's not what inclusiveness is. Inclusiveness are looking at each individual, at each different perspective. That is inclusiveness, right? Not taking one specific whatever it is that our political narrative tells us to do and call that diversity or inclusiveness, right? So I think as a leader, we have that responsibility to question things also when they don't feel right. A lot of what I just talked about is good, and some of it maybe not, and we need to distinguish. And I think that's also a leader's responsibility. I talk a lot about bold, courageous leadership for that reason, because I believe that we don't see enough of that.
Yeah, we have a speaker over here in the States. His name is Larry Winget, and he's
Yeah, I
kind of
know him.
abrasive. He's put his stake in the ground with his beliefs, and he says it's, people that like me follow me, and people that don't like me follow me too.
Yeah, cowboy
So
boot, Larry.
there's something
Cowboy
to be
boot,
said.
Larry.
What's that?
Cowboy boot, Larry.
Oh, Larry Winget.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, he wears the shirts, all the fancy dancy ones, and normally, a speaker has a suit and tie, but not Larry.
No, and this is also about being authentic, right?
Yeah.
He knows what he stands for, and you can like it or not. That's your own decision, and that's totally fine, right?
Well, there's a lot to be said for that, for like going on your path. You know where you're going. If I say I'm going to I'm going to go to a hotel, and I've got New York and Los Angeles, which direction am I going? Nobody knows. So if I say I'm going to the Hollywood Hotel in California, now they know where I'm going, and they can follow me there. But I'm not going there.
Okay. Yeah, no, exactly. We're not supposed to walk on other people's paths or to dance other people's dances, right? We are supposed to dance our own dance. I love dancing, so I always play with
That
words.
makes
I love
sense.
dance.
Well, we've gone for about 20 minutes here, and I try and keep this a little condensed so people can consume as much as
Mhm,
possible. So I'm going to put your website up here once again. And
mhm.
is there any final little golden nuggets that you might want to share about someone that wants to either become a leader or understand, why am I following this guy,
Mhm.
girl?
Yeah, I believe that you got to be really clear on your core values. So, two of my core values being integrity and freedom, for example. So, everything I do is in the service of freedom. As a leader of self and others, I've moved around in the world a lot. I've lived in several different continents, in even more countries. I have learned languages to be communicating more freely with people and to learn about the cultures I lived in. And this freedom isn't just about moving, of course, or about geographic freedom. It's also about the freedom to do the work I want to do, the freedom of work to work with the people I want to work with. For everybody, it looks a bit different, right? But for me, it's a very, very high value, freedom. And I will always stand up for that. And I have fought corruption repeatedly in the past, firsthand, in several different countries, whether it's with things that had to do with my business or other things, right? And that has kept me in integrity when it was easier maybe to give in and just pay somebody off, and it would have been even cheaper and just easier than staying in my integrity. And I think these are values that we want to see the values that leaders have shine through them.
Sure,
That is
sure.
something I really wanted to say. So values they can be detrimental or beneficial depending on what they are.
But I think
Not
it's,
every
it's good,
value is good.
but it's good for the leader to kind of have those things embossed in there so that
Yeah,
people know what they stand for.
right. And then really learn to lead yourself first. That requires a big portion of self-awareness. Practice self-awareness, know who you are, know what you want. A really good question to ask yourself is, what do I really, really want?
Yes.
That's really for everybody. But then also know who you are and what your vision is.
Well, my want is very similar to yours. It is freedom, the freedom to go
Mhm.
where I want, when I want, with who I want, and where and whenever I want. So it's a
Mhm.
chronological, geographical, and emotional freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds great to me.
Okay. Well, Regina, I'm going to put you into the green room here, and if you want, you can partake in some of those digital hors d'oeuvres we've got back there. We
Thank
have a
you.
little robot back there that changes everything out. So the stuff you had earlier, we've got new, fresh digital hors d'oeuvres. So go
Oh,
ahead and
wonderful.
enjoy.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you
Okay.
so much for having me on today.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Well, there you have it. That was our friend Regina, and this is her website. If you want to go there, that's where it is. Transformyourperformance.com. And you can learn about leadership. And here's what it is. It's all about value-driven leadership. So that's all I got for you today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Thanks for joining us on Synergy Cafe. We'll talk soon. Peace. Be good, be kind, be nice. Be nice.